Welcome, welcome, welcome back. Coming into our next panel is UWish. Excited about UWish as a platform, multicultural stories for multicultural storytellers, multicultural audience. And, we're excited about our panel. And we're really excited about our host, Professor Eleanor Earl. She will be leading our panel. So I just want to give you a little theme music. Say how excited I am for you to be doing this. Also, we have Max Tuchman, Kaya Johnson from RainbowMe, Max Tuchman from Caribu, and I'm ready to let you have Professor. You got here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Baron. How awesome. It's so good to be here today. Once again at the Big Summit UWish Panel session, the urgency of now, activating the power of multicultural storytelling. Today, we are looking forward to talking about the power of multicultural storytelling in terms of how it transforms hearts and minds, and especially those of young people. We'll also explore the imperative of amplifying diverse voices and experiences in this misinformation age and era of virtual learning. So I'm going to jump right in with questions for our amazing panel. And I'd like to start with Effie Brown. Again, wanted to welcome each of you, Effie Brown, Kia Johnson, and Max Tuchman. And this first question is, I'd like you, if you would, each individually tell us about yourselves. Specifically, who are you and what are some of the significant stories, shows, characters, films, etc., that stimulated your imagination growing up? And tell us why these stories stimulated your imagination, if you would.
Wow. Can you guys hear me okay? I just sort of, am I? Yes?
Yeah. I can
okay, I'm like, way to go. Just ignore me. Let's go. Hi, everybody. My name's Effie Brown. I'm the CEO of Gamechanger Films, and I've been a producer for a long time, film and television. And that's really, I have a couple of things that actually moved me when I was coming up that inspired me to be a multicultural storyteller, primarily producer, financier. And it's the one I always say is Alien. Do you remember that with Sigourney Weaver and like Yaphet Kotto? Like, I love that, right? And it was like, that was the first time I was like, oh, wow, a woman can save herself. The Black guy got to live to like almost to the bitter end, which like back in those days we didn't, and she was right, you know what I mean? And like, and her boss like overrode her. And if she, if the boss would have listened to her, everybody would have been alive and would have like, so like that was sort of a bit of a life lesson. And then the other movie that I don't talk about much, but like I was just listening to it, The Wiz.
The Wiz.
Everything I've ever needed to know in my life, I know from The Wiz. Like, don't nobody bring me no bad news. Evil, you know what I mean? You can't win. The Scarecrow, be a lion, home. I won't sing for you unless you really, I'm just kidding. No, I won't sing for you. But I love that. And I have to say that that production design, the music, and the new take off of an old story really moved me, because I never felt when I was coming up, like, I love Judy Garland with the best of them, but like, I didn't feel, you know what I mean? The Wizard of Oz was not speaking to me. So that's a little bit about me in a nutshell. I don't want to take up too much time. Go ahead.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. Kia.
Yes. Hello, everybody. I am Kia Johnson, and I am the founder of RainbowMe Kids. We are a multimedia platform for kids with content featuring main characters of color. And there were a couple of show scenarios, I would say, that inspired me to start creating RainbowMe. The first was growing up. I grew up in a house with, my dad was an attorney. My mom was in the medical field. And so the Cosby Show was a show that I really, really related to. And I remember specifically in college, I took a class, African-American history class, and there was a discussion about the Cosby Show that came up. And there was a group of kids in this class, and they were like, well, the Cosby Show was so out of reality. There's no such way. There's no way a family like the Cosby Show could exist. And I'm sitting here like, what do you mean? Mm-hmm. And so it was clear that there were it was important that kids growing up saw images that reflected who they are. Second instance was when Disney created The Princess and the Frog. Mm-hmm. My sister and I were in our 20s. We're going to the movie theater, and the movie theater is filled with other grown women, like the early kids in this movie theater. And so, it's clear, everybody is excited that there's finally a Disney princess that looks like us. And so if we're feeling like this as adults, just imagine, how the kids that aren't necessarily able to verbalize how they're feeling when they see images that reflect who they are. So that was really the impetus behind starting RainbowMe Kids.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah. And Max, next, please.
So Kaya, I didn't get a Cuban or Latina Jewish princess until Elena of Avalor, which was like last year. So I feel your pain. I was like, oh my God, we're Latino and we're going to celebrate Hanukkah. That's so exciting. So I feel your pain. So I'm Max. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Caribu. We are the leading educational family entertainment platform for kids ages 0 to 13 to have virtual play dates with family and friends when they can't be physically together. So we had a use case before the pandemic, but as you can imagine, the pandemic 10x the company because families are really trying to have better video calls with kids and really recreate that play date that they used to have in person that now they have to have virtually. And one of the things that was really important to me growing up, again, as a Jubin, I call myself a Cuban Jew, was having representative content on our platform. So we have a video call with an in-app library with thousands of books. We have 10 different languages because we have users and families in over 200 countries across the globe. And our families come from all different backgrounds, religious, family structure. We have a pride category. We have a courageous conversations, anti-racism category. We hopefully very soon will have Big Santa on Caribu so that kids can celebrate the holidays with someone that looks like them. We have Kwanzaa content for celebrating Kwanzaa. And so for us, that's always been something that's really important to us. And I built the library that way because when I was growing up and my mom and grandmother would read me bedtime stories, none of the characters ever looked like me, right? They never spoke Spanish or they never celebrated Hanukkah and spoke Spanish. And the other thing that I remember is that there was never really a children's book where my grandparents or my mom could, or my dad too, could read to me like kind of our stories, right? We have a very popular kind of little nursery rhyme called Los Pollitos, and it's Los Pollitos dicen, pío, 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 cuando tienen hambre, cuando tienen frío. And it's like, I grew up with that. And now because of our partnership with Encantos, which is also part of the big family, we actually literally have the children's book, Los Pollitos, in English and Spanish on Caribu. So every child, Latinx or not, can enjoy that kind of nursery rhyme at bedtime with their family and keep that culture and that heritage alive.
That's wonderful. This is great. I just loved hearing each of your answers to this question because I bring up memories of The Wiz, Alien, and all the other items that were Mr. Cosby, et cetera, and then Elania of Avalon. That sounds so exciting. The next question I'd like to ask you, first of all, how many of you would consider yourselves to be dreamers? Each of you, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, and me too, I'm right there with you. So, in terms of dreaming, when one takes a moment to dream, and if we were to go back to when we were all little girls, what did you dream about as little girls, and what are you dreaming about today?
Wow.
That's a good one.
Ooh, okay. And who would like to go first?
I can start because I think everyone is thinking about some really good ideas, but I always dreamt that I'd be in charge. I was always like, I want to be in charge. And back to Sigourney Weaver, right? Like I was like, I'm going to have to take care of myself. I remember I grew up in Miami, right? So you just kind of had to take care of yourself. And I took Krav Maga classes very early on, right? Because I was like, I want to go and travel and and go to clubs and walk to my car in the middle of the night and not have anyone harass me. Like, I want anyone who comes after me to be very sorry that they did. And so I just always wanted to be in charge. I always wanted to be super independent. I always wanted to take care of myself. Like, and I dreamed of a world where other little girls could kind of dream that and achieve it as well, right? That we just didn't have to take all the bullshit that we have to deal with. That was my dream.
Right on.
Great. And so that's still what you're dreaming of today and living out that dream.
Yeah.
Right? That's great.
Still kicking ass and punching people in the face.
I love it.
You'll be sorry if you go after her. That's
great.
You're like a sweat. There you go. I do karate, so I'm with you. I got it. I have to say, that was a really great question, because it also sort of brought me back where I was like, wow, I feel like I've changed a lot, but I'm still the same person. The movies that have, like, if you think about it, Alien, The Wiz, I love Breakfast Club. Like, these were movies that were about disparate people having to come together for a common cause. Like Buckaroo Banzai. Like, I can go through like all of my movies and I'm like, it's always about disparate people, like people who should have never been together, being together and having to work some stuff out. Sorry. And I have to say, that's exactly, I remember watching that and really feeling that you can save the world through story. And that was something I know. And I remember being a kid and my parents being like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, but that's what we're doing. Like, that's one of the things we're doing at Gamechanger. Like, our focus is only on women, people of color, LGBTQ+, and people with disability in front of and behind the scenes. We're making a new kind of hero, right? And I think that's still what I'm dreaming about today, is how to get, people that like necessarily, you don't look like me, you don't come from the same thing as me, but like we actually still have something in common and can create or achieve or get over an obstacle. And especially, I'm not going to get into politics, but I think this election has really galvanized how there's two different sets of people that need to come together with a common story to sort of heal and to overcome. So that's what I was dreaming about as a kid, and that's what I'm doing now and dreaming about.
That's awesome. Great.
Sounds good, but
And Kia.
So that was a good question, and I really, as a child, I was the little girl who wanted to be a princess. I enjoyed and I loved the magic of the fairy tale, and so with RainbowMe, how it's so interesting. I don't think I ever thought about how what I'm doing now really relates to that dream as a child, but we created this book that incorporates technology. It introduces kids to folklore and fairy tale characters of color all around the world with augmented reality. So it makes it feel like it's magical. And kids can see that they're princesses, and not only that, but goddesses and giants and fairies and everything else. And so it's cool to be able to take what you have been dreaming of as a child and create that as an adult, create this magical space as an adult.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. This is so, I'm totally motivated even more just meeting you guys and talking to you today. I'm sure the viewers who are joining us feel the very same. And to that end, your answers have been so wonderful, and you each are so, in the work and what I've read about you, you're very altruistic too, in terms of giving back and paying it forward to other people, other dreamers. Let's talk about some other dreamers that you've encountered along the way of your journey. And if you don't mind sharing just a little bit about how have you been able to help support other dreamers in moving forward with multicultural storytelling in some way or another within the businesses that you've created?
I'll go if that's okay. So I know for me, this entrepreneurial journey for me was brand new. And so whenever I meet anybody, especially young people who are trying to enter this realm, and especially when they're in the same genre as we are, when they're trying to create some content for characters together, I always share the pitfalls, the mistakes, everything that to essentially try to help them avoid the same mistakes that we made. I think if you can reach back and make it a little bit easier for someone to come behind you, I think you've done something good, extraordinary.
Most definitely. That's great. Max?
Well, as you know, today in honor of Veterans Day, one of the people that we give back to is our U.S. military. We were actually inspired to build Caribu because we saw a picture of a soldier. I mean, it's this heartbreaking photo of him trying to read this huge children's book to his daughter through a webcam. I mean, he's in his gear and he's got a laptop and he's in this coffee shop. I mean, it just breaks your heart because you know that no one is having a good experience in that situation, right? I mean, he's got this like big book. He can't see the kid definitely can't see the text. And so because we were inspired by our military to build this product, we also felt like, wow, these are people who literally could be giving their lives for us to be able to enjoy our families at home. And this is the best technology we have for this guy and other parents who serve in our U.S. military to try and stay connected to their families and do the work that they're trying to do. And so, we've always donated free subscriptions of Caribu to currently serving U.S. military through our partnership with Blue Star Families. And it just seemed perfect to talk about those dreamers today, especially as we honor all of our veterans and active service members today on Veterans Day.
Most definitely. Yes, that's great. And Effie?
Awesome. I'm sort of riffing off of what both of them, were saying is, I think it's really important. It is important to give back. And I think to give back in a way that is honest, right? Where you're sort of like, you're not trying to like, look, I'm not trying to save face. I'm trying to save your ass, right? So I'm going to tell you like what really went down and like the mistakes that I've made and what I could have done better. And we're always growing and learning, and therapy is your friend and meditation is your friend, regardless of what you do. But the thing where, I feel where I'm making the most impact is, there's a great quote, and I wish I had it in the tip of my tongue, but, dreamers are great. But I'm actually looking for someone who, like, when you go from a dreamer to someone who makes a plan and setting goals, right? Like, there's some like little quip, you know what I mean? That of being like, dreamers are great. I'm looking for those folks who are like setting goals and strategy, right? And what I'm looking to do is to support those people with the vision to get their dream to like an action plan, to a strategy, so we can execute the idea, right? And with that, meaning one of giving back expertise in how to produce a film or television piece of content, but also giving them access to financing and resources, because that's the big thing. Like everybody, like not everybody, I think it's a God-given gift, and not to get like super religious, but like everybody's creative. Like that's a human trait, right? But being able to take that creativity and come out with something, that takes skill. And a lot of times, a lot of us, and when I say us, meaning women, people of color, LGBTQ, people with disability, we have that, but we don't have access to the resources and to the financing. And that's one of the things that I'm looking to break down, that barrier, and be able to support them financially. It's a business. I'm not like doing it out of the kindness of my heart. I'm not like philanthropic.
I want to clarify that.
Yeah, that's a business. You know what I mean? I'm in there, but that's what we're doing.
Excellent. And that brings to bear this next question. It's a great segue actually to that, because it really is about ultimately providing great information, but then giving people a clear plan, an action plan in terms of those next steps that can get them to the next level that they're seeking to go. So it sounds like, Effie, as you're saying, with your company, Gamechanger Films and all, that you guys have something in place. And I would ask also of Max and Kia the same question. And are there things in place in terms of the financial side, if I might ask, of empowering these other creatives to continue this effort of multicultural storytelling and making sure that all audiences are ultimately represented and can see themselves just as powerfully as you did as young people as well?
So, I mean, we give, we give our books out, we give our products out for kids. We are fairly young in the space, so we ultimately we'll have something in place
Sure, but even
monetarily.
In terms of publishing opportunities, you're providing new.
Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
That counts. I
I'm
apologize.
trying to help you out. You're like,
I'm
you're doing more than you think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We definitely reach out to others to have them come up under our umbrella. We share how the technology we use, that people are able to incorporate that into their own product publications.
Wonderful.
Underneath our umbrella. So yeah, absolutely.
Most definitely. That's wonderful. And I'm sure there are some authors out there paying attention right now and looking for an opportunity like that. So that's great to know. And what about you, Max? Oh yeah, yes. And Max as well?
Yeah, I don't know if everyone remembers this summer, there was a huge conversation around paying authors of color and for their work. Yes. This summer there were a lot of really interesting conversations, a lot of people saying that they wanted to help. And I'm waiting for the receipts in 2021 because I am always skeptical. But this summer, there was a huge conversation, and a lot of authors of color. I was really just encouraged by them, sharing publicly kind of how they've been treated in the publishing industry, because I think we all needed to hear it, right? We needed to hear that authors of color aren't getting advances, or if they are getting advances, they're getting advances that are less than their white peers. Yeah. Which is, I mean, come on, we're all women of color on this call. Like, we knew that. Okay.
Yes.
So what I love about what we're doing at Caribu is we have a really interesting content strategy, which is a combination of exclusive content, original content, and licensed content. And when we license our content, we do a revenue share with our authors. And so Kia, we should talk because we promote our authors and market them so that they get more exposure. I mean, again, we have families in over 200 countries and territories. We have over 500,000 users using Caribu, right? This is incredible exposure for authors of color. And every time their content gets read or colored on or played with, they get revenue from it, right? And so we want to build that wealth, and we want to continue to inspire and build content from diverse authors and publishers. And something we hope to do more with Big, because Baron and V are really, really focused on making sure that authors of color are getting their due. And also, like, it's just about damn time. So
I love it. That's like a quote that we can make a t-shirt even with that. I like it. Most definitely is time. And with that being said, you mentioned something, Max, that brings to bear something that I think is really important, is the exchange cross-culturally even of information, right? Like, in opportunities. And it sounds like with each of you, there's some aspect of where you're reaching diverse communities globally. Can we speak to that just a little bit more? I know you touched on it a bit, Max, in terms of what you're doing, but is there a particular project right now that you're working on in terms of collaborating with some other people in other countries that's really taking off that you want to highlight? And the same for each of you, just that global perspective about this idea of multicultural storytelling and what you're doing globally.
Well, one of the things that's part of that kind of original content strategy is what we realize is we expanded. First of all, when you're in the App Store, you are now an international company, right? Because you're available in the Google Play and the Apple App Store. And therefore, anyone in the world who has access to that can download your app. So we were very international before the pandemic hit. And then we became even more international when the pandemic hit, because in March, almost 1 billion children were out of school, and they needed a product like Caribu to be able to, kind of stay in touch with family, read and draw with cousins, recreate that play date that they used to have.
Yes.
And what we found is and again, for anyone who's in the publishing world, it is a slow moving world. And it's very, very old school, right? Like, every publisher, if you want to license a book, you have to go through that publisher. Like, there's no brokers, there's no kind of marketplaces, there's nothing. You have to go to that publisher and you have to get that book. And so for us to expand globally with like culturally responsive content was extremely hard so quickly, because we were like, wait a second, we can't license Polish books like overnight, right? I mean, we'd have to get in touch with authors and publishers in Poland who have content in Polish, and then we have to do all the contracting, and then we have to get their books on the platform. So what we very quickly did is we started creating activity sheets and coloring sheets and things that didn't require language, so that families across the globe could use their own language to still enjoy Caribu, to still have that virtual play date and not feel like they were left out because our content was in 10 languages, which it is, but that wasn't one of their languages.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's wonderful that you had some things in place that were able to help transition tons of families around the world during COVID-19. Same thing then, Effie.
Well, yes, I believe we have quite a few things. So since we're a content company, right, we do development, financing, and production. Global is sort of like is a bit of our mainstay, and especially nowadays, I think that we have to sort of, I don't want to date myself, but like I had to sort of shift my thinking of being like, it's a new world order. Everything is global, like social media. We're all connected now, so there's no more of like domesticity of like, oh, like we're just here. It's like there's no more geo-locking, I guess I'm calling it. So for myself, like we financed a film called Stranger with a Camera, or co-financed a film called Stranger with a Camera, which was in Ireland, and it was sort of a revisiting of the circumstances what made the Troubles back in the day. And one of the, I call it the trouble with the IRA and all that good stuff, because they're sort of becoming again with Brexit. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so we're doing those stories of like, this is a thriller and it's like, a coming of age thriller, but we're actually talking about real issues. Same thing we're doing. I'm looking, and if hopefully there's somebody out there, I'm looking to work in Afrofuturism in Africa. It's a huge continent. I know. Lots of, I know. They're like, it's really big, Effie. What do you mean? So, but like I'm doing a lot of, looking for folks in like South Africa and Ghana and all of that. Like, so we're looking, but the thing that I am doing, I'm just going to put it out there because my granny says a closed mouth doesn't get fed. Mm-hmm. I want to do an African Viking movie.
Ooh,
I'm fascinated. I've spent a lot of time in Finland, Denmark, all of that. Like, I feel that like, we're everywhere, and like that, like I said, remember I said disparate groups of people coming together. That's what I want to do, and I feel, and I'm dying to like work over there, and I'm working on it. So anyway, so that's what we're looking to do, and so it's not so mercenary and self-serving about myself. Too late. I still feel, you can change the world through story, and I think that these voices are everywhere.
Yes,
everywhere. And we now have access to them. So
definitely. Well, just to speak to that very briefly before we come back to you, Kia, there are some wonderful people with whom Baron Davis is already talking with on the continent of Africa. I'm sure he'll be very happy.
Continent. Okay, good. I want to know. I didn't know what to properly say.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like Africa. I'm trying to get into Africa. Right?
But nonetheless, the bridge zone specifically and others he'll put you in touch with, and they'll be more than happy to help you. So that's wonderful. And Kia, please do.
Yes. So when we were creating O is for Oshun, when we were looking to find the voices for the animated characters, we wanted to be very authentic. Yes. With the accent. So the character voices are literally from all around the world. Wherever that character folklore tale is from, the animated character is from that particular country as well.
That's amazing.
So yeah, that was extremely important for me in this product. And then the second book we have coming out in February, How Kofi Amiro Became the Hero of Amiro. Okay. I love that. Is a Ghanaian, is our adaptation of a Ghanaian folklore tale, and of course the augmented reality animation character voice is a guy that we used in the first book from Ghana. So it was necessary to me that we be authentic with the character voices and accents.
Most definitely. How exciting is this?
I think partnerships need to happen. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm just going to be real about it. I think someone needs to give our each other's emails, and let's start getting some partnerships.
I am sure the Big Summit team will facilitate that, most definitely. Because, and that brings me to the next idea of collaboration. And Effie, I think you're reading my mind here. This is so awesome. Because totally the power of collaboration is something I think one should address. And in this group, it would be great to address that. And in this moment, you've even done so, like, because it's so important to communicate what your goals and dreams are, going back to the idea of being dreamers, sharing one's dreams with others. Now, we do know that one must be careful when sharing one's dreams sometimes too. You have to be selective about that in the process, but being open to doing so can lead to wonderful things. So are there any particular collaborations that you're working on right now? Is there one specific collaboration specifically that you could speak of that's coming up or you're in the process of collaborating on now?
We're working with, so I'm based in North Carolina, and we're working with North Carolina Central University has a fab lab where they create things from like 3D printing, cardboard printing. And so we are in the process of creating a toy line that goes along with our folklore tales.
Nice.
Yeah, and so I'm really excited to be partnering with NCC, North Carolina Central University, with that project.
Awesome. And will that mean that students from the university will also participate in a real world process of doing this?
Yes, exactly. The students are, and they're so brilliant. Like they, I shared with them what I wanted, and they've come back to me with so many incredible ideas with the different products that we have coming up. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Awesome. What about you, Max?
My impending collaboration with Kia is the most exciting partnership.
I love it. I love it. Look at what the Big Summit has done, and you.
Yes.
Also, if the it's O for Oshun.
Yes.
Is that like from Yoruba and Ochun?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a Cuban connection here. We got to do the whole Yoruba thing. Yeah. So there's going to be some really amazing things that are being spoken into the universe right now. And then I would say the second partnership I'm most excited about that one first, but the second one is with Sesame Street. So Kia, you're number one.
Look at that.
Sesame Street's number two. But we just officially partnered with Sesame Street, and I'm so excited about that because I think one of the things that's so important in children's storytelling and in multicultural storytelling is that a lot of times that we embolden characters to tell those stories, because a lot of times if you do see a character, right, there's a lot of Latino characters and Latina characters that are white presenting like me, right? And so a darker skin Latinx child looks at that and says, well, I'm so excited they speak Spanish, but that doesn't look like me, right? Or I don't speak that way, or especially even in Spanish, right? There's a lot of weird, we all have weird dialects. So it's like you can't 100% connect. And what I love about Sesame Street is that there is no color. There's sort of gender, and there's all different types of ways that they create diversity within their characters. Different backgrounds, different abilities, which is incredible. And I just feel like with the holidays coming up and families needing a way to talk to their kids about what's happening and why they can't hang out with their family in person this holiday season, I think our collaboration with Sesame Street and having those characters tell those stories and comfort them during the holidays is super exciting.
That's awesome. Great. And Effie?
Well, I think all of us are looking to collaborate together. I'm just going to, you know what I mean? And I'm going in on that ocean. I think I can do a television or maybe a limited series, something.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
I would love it. And we have the stories.
Love it.
Yes.
So we're very interested. I'm not kidding. My office is really, I already been getting texts from my development person who's like, yo, that sounds like something for us. So just so you know, we're not playing.
Okay, awesome. Love it.
So, and the other thing is that we believe in collaboration. Like we're collaborating with Amazon, Macro, Netflix, A24. So we believe in collaboration. We're trying to get our dreams and our product out from these individual creators, right? So, and I have quite a few people that we're working with where you just can't pick one, because then like someone will be very upset and come for my throat. So you don't want to, we want to continue working together. But we're very, very excited. But one in particular that we've been doing, I call them the omniverses. And with the omniverse, meaning that we're looking to do things that are for collaborate on a world building or a project that we can exploit through publishing, television, film, AR, VR, gaming, podcast. There's so many different ways for you to be able to get into a story and to be in that world. And, so that's one of the things we're doing. And then might be how I got on this panel, is that we're actually working with, hopefully, we're working out the paperwork with Baron and V, on one of their collaborations. So in that sort of vein of that omniverse. So, but that's what we're doing in our business. It's all about collaboration but actually getting it out there into the major market as well.
Most definitely. OMG. This is so exciting. Today, all the wonderful collaborations that are being formed here. And again, for all those who are tuning in with us, I know that this continues to be a wonderful exchange today. We are winding down. We're down to our last few questions here. And I tell you, this could just go on and on for me. But we're really enjoying it. We will ultimately, in the next 8 minutes, come to a close. But
8 minutes.
Yes, 8 minutes exactly. I'm just like on it. Just giving everybody 4 minutes.
That was.
But yeah, I was being super specific there. But nonetheless, I wanted to ask you guys, how many of you, and I'm sure you all are probably familiar with Matthew A. Cherry's Hair Love?
I love it.
Short film.
Yeah, awesome.
So in terms of the impact that particular short film had on the creative community and as well as young people, the overarching question is, how do you feel that this work that's out there today, and even some of the work that you're doing, that you're talking about, is enhancing the lives of young people specifically? Because that particular example of a short film really impacted young people in terms of loving their natural hairstyles, et cetera. And why was that even significant and important? And how did that help to change some hearts and minds, which is part of what the Big Summit and UWish is all about, changing the hearts and minds of people. So that's like an example of that. What are you working on in that regard that might be similar in some respects?
Well, I mean, that's the whole company. That's right. Okay. That's what we do. But again, the first book, like I said, and even Kofi Amiro, it's important to have books like Hair Love because it's important for kids to have positive self-images. Mm-hmm. It's important to have books like Little Leaders by Vashti Harrison because kids need to know that there are people who came before them that have paved the way and that are phenomenal. Yeah. Just as important are the Black Panthers. Mm-hmm. and the Princesses and the Frauds, because kids also need to know that they can be magical too. They can be superheroes. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that's where we come in with RainbowMe. I feel like we're feeling that space, that void. And there is a void. And then in like you were saying, Effie, incorporating the augmented reality with our products. Awesome. When you're talking about seeing kids of color in technology, it's miserable. Or characters of color. There are none hardly when you're talking about innovative technology. And so for us to be able to bridge those two, that's how we're impacting kids. Like, you can really be anything you want to be. You see yourself doing so.
Excellent. That's wonderful. Yes. Effie?
I can say something that's a bit more tangible. We just signed 2 films with Disney Channel. And basically one of them is, I've done a movie with them before, but everything that we're doing is all about inclusivity, right? Mm-hmm. In regard to, female empowerment, are actually taking on something that you wouldn't think that Disney would actually be sort of tackling. Mm-hmm. And so what we are doing, and I don't know. I might not, shouldn't be able to say it, but I signed the paperwork, so it's done. But it's from the desk of Zoe Washington, which is based off of a book, a YA book. And it's dealing with the, sort of a coming of age, but also dealing with a family member that's been wrongfully incarcerated.
Mhm.
What? Disney Channel doing that?
Wow.
Pretty spectacular, right?
Yeah.
So there's certain things where, and I, what I'm very much interested in is talking about things that are relevant today, but not necessarily doing it in a preachy like message, sort of moment. Because like kids today, and I think in people today we're experiencing things, we're going through things, and we just need some connection and understanding and some empathy and like, how do I get through this? And I don't want to feel so alone, and that's where I think the power of film and television really come into play. And that's in partnering, I think to sort of really go to it would be is a 2 YA films that we're doing with Disney Channel. And then I'm doing another one, which is a musical with Netflix called Bug Girl with Debbie Allen.
Nice. I
know, right? I was like, this. By the way, and I don't know, the book of my business is with children. I don't get it, but whatever. But I'm in it. I'm okay with it. But that's it's really become a real touchstone for Gamechanger, of being able to educate as you entertain.
That's awesome. Thank you. And Max.
So I don't know if any of you know the Bechdel test, and I'm about to ruin all movies for you now, because the Bechdel test is 3 simple things that you have to do to pass the Bechdel test, and 99% of films fail. Which is, 1, do you have 2 women who are named, right? So not like random woman, right? So like in the credits, like do 2 women have names, not just house cleaner or like the receptionist. Okay, has to have names. They have to talk to each other in the movie. They like literally have to like have a conversation. Okay, so like that can't be that hard, right? Every movie has that. Watch your movies. They don't. And wait a second, the women have to have a conversation that has nothing to do with a man.
Yep.
And fail. So like even all the like super feminist movies that we're like, we love these movies, that like they all talk, right? It's like women talking about men. Okay, fine. So we have a very similar kind of strategy at Caribu. Is we want to make sure that the content that we're providing for children not only has visually represented diversity, but the conversations are diverse as well, right? We can't have a book with a Cuban Jew with frizzy hair like me, that by the end of the book is so excited because she straightened her hair and now she feels pretty, right? Like that. And there's a lot of children's book like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a story where a black swan feels like left out and becomes a white swan, and now the world is all okay. And it's like, what are we trying to tell children here, right? So I think thinking about, and this is something that, I feel so bad for parents, right? Because you buy a book thinking it's going to be so great, and then by the end of the story, you're like, oh my God, I don't know what I just told my child. So we really tried to make sure that we're also thinking about the messages that we're sending within the books, and that's what I loved about Hair Love, and the fact that Blue Ivy is like narrating, like, it's so much.
Yes.
Like, I want that on Caribu. But yeah, so I think we have to be more thoughtful, again, not only visually representing, but like what are the messages that we're sending when it comes to multicultural storytelling for children.
Wonderful. Well, ladies, this has been so perfectly timed. I think all that you've had to share, I know there's so much more. We'll have to do this again at some point through Big Summit. But again, on behalf of Big Summit and UWish, I'd like to thank you for participating in this panel of the urgency of now, activating the power of multicultural storytelling. Once again, thank you, Effie Brown, Kia Johnson, and Max Tuchman. And I'm Eleanor, Earl. We appreciate all of you for joining us today. And I've got one last thing I want to ask you quickly with them. For all the dreamers, fellow dreamers who are watching, what's the one quick piece of advice you'd like to give them with regard to helping out with storytelling, just within the seconds that we have? Max.
Oh man, I was like, I gotta think about this. I would say, just in storytelling, right? If you have a story to tell, the world deserves to hear it. So jump in, chancletas first, and tell that story.
Awesome. Next, Effie.
Have the courage of your conviction. Your voice is important and it needs to be heard, period.
Great. And Nakia.
Write it down, make it visible, put it where you're looking at it every day. That makes a difference. It makes a huge difference.
Awesome. Ladies, you rock. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time
you.
today. See you around. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.